Greetings all. Today it would be appropriate to reflect on St. Ignatius's Contemplation to Attain Love. St. Ignatius, at the end of the spiritual exercises, writes this marvelous contemplation that helped him attain God's way of loving. That's really what we're doing here, is attaining God's way of loving. How do we attain God's way of loving? How can we become lovers as God is a lover? Well, we first have to absorb that love, as you might guess. It first is receptive experience for you and me. Love is first received, not given, but received. And as we receive the love of God, we can then pass it on to those around us. And so the first, in this contemplation to attain God's way of loving, he says that two preliminary observations should be made. First, these are two thoughts about love he has, and we'll focus there today. Love ought to manifest itself more by deeds than by words. Indeed it ought. Love ought to manifest itself more by deeds than by words. It's not enough just to say I love you, but I need to show that also. There's a funny story of a man who goes to a mission at his church, and the priest is talking about how important it is to show love towards your wife and not only say you love them. And so he comes home that day and comes up behind his wife, and she's there in the kitchen, and he gives her this big bear hug. And she begins breaking down and crying. And he says, "Honey, what's wrong?" And she says, "Oh, it's been a terrible day." She said, "Johnny fell out of his high chair and hit his head, and Mary knocked over my favorite lamp, and now you come home drunk." So we can see here that we ought to manifest our love not only in words, but in deeds. And this man had to learn how to do that more and more regularly so that his wife actually believed him. So too, love is manifested in deeds more than words. Words are good. It's not that love's not manifested in words, but more in deeds than in words. So too, God loves you and me in deeds and action. And we need to perceive those actions. And so too, if we say we love God, not enough just to say we love God. Yes, I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I'm a happy Catholic even. But actually, no, I'm committed Catholic, where I give of myself. And I'm regular in my sacramental practice, give of myself. That's the first of two observations, that love ought to be more manifested by deeds than by words. Secondly, love, or charity, is a mutual communication between two persons. That is, one who loves gives and communicates to the beloved what he or she has, or a part of what one has or can have. And the beloved in return does the same to the lover. Thus, if one has knowledge, one gives it to the other who does not. And similarly, in regard to honors or riches, each shares with the others. Love is about giving. Love is about self-gift, communicating any gifts to the beloved that I have, sharing what I have. God is an amazing sharer. He gives us so much of what we can handle, even more. He would like to give us even more, but it gives us so much. Our loving God does. And he communicates his love through giftedness and through himself, giving us of his very self to us. What a great gift, our beloved Lord. So to attain God's way of loving, you and I need to be more perceptive of how God loves on us, that he manifests it by deeds, and that he shares of his very self. He gives of what he has or can have, whether that be his wisdom, his intelligence, his charity, his mercy. When you and I are in need of mercy, we need to ask God for that help. So Pope Francis had one more story. Recent experience where he said he was at the coffin of a priest who had died in Buenos Aires. I think the priest was about 93 years old, and the priest was a confessor to many of the priests of the area, including Cardinal Bergoglio, Pope Francis. And he said when he visited the priest in the tomb, there was no flowers there, and he wanted to have flowers for the priest, so he went out and he bought some flowers, and he came back, and he saw that the priest was holding a rosary in the coffin, and he's like, the little robber that's in each one of us came out. And he said, "I took the crucifix off the rosary, and I keep it to this day on my chest. It's in a pocket in his garments." So he says, whenever I'm having a conversation with someone or there's a struggle, I touch it, and it reminds me, it's a plea for God's mercy to work through me. And indeed it does. So that's a great witness of how to live within God's mercy, receiving one of the gifts of our beloved God who loves me so much, he gives me of his mercy also. So when I touch that crucifix, I myself am requesting, Lord, let your mercy be in me. God bless you.